It's Sunday, January 26th, and this is Trillium Talk, our weekly look inside Ontario politics with our team at the Trillium. And great to have reporter Jack Howen back with us today. Jack, it's been another exciting week in the province, capped off with Premier Ford confirming that on Wednesday he will be calling a snap election. We'll get to that in a second, but let's start with the province going undercover, so to speak, where supervised consumption sites are concerned. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so there had been private investigators poking around a couple of Toronto supervised consumption sites for a couple of weeks, according to some of the staff who work there. And there were rumors flying around that they worked for the province, but nobody could confirm it. Everyone was feeling a little paranoid. And I dug into it a little bit more, and the province did eventually confirm that the government, the Ford government, was behind them. So they hired them to bolster their arguments basically in the charter challenge that they're facing over the planned closure of a lot of these sites.
Now, an interesting part of this story, Jack, is that during the PIs poking around, they actually ran into an NDP MPP on the street. Who was it and what was said?
Yeah, there were a couple interesting parts to this story. They also walked into a daycare that was owned by one of the companies that run the supervised consumption sites. But yeah, they ran into Chris Glover, an NDP MPP, as he was walking around near the Parkdale SCS. And they did tell him that they were working for the province, he said, and they asked if he wanted to answer some questions about the site. They took his info down, but he says they never called.
Okay, let's change gears here quickly for a moment. The Ontario Liberals are calling on the Premier to cancel the province's contract with Starlink, owned by, as they call him, the destructive man-child Elon Musk. What is the contract for, and why are the Libs calling for the cancellation of it?
Yeah, so Ontario signed a $100 million contract to provide satellite internet hookups to 15,000 homes and businesses in remote parts of Ontario through Starlink. So the figure has kind of raised eyebrows for a while. It breaks down to over $6,500 per connection, and everyone who has one will still have to pay the monthly fees, and the kits themselves are about $500. So it adds up pretty quickly. But up to $92 million of that $100 million government cost will be to reserve space on the satellites, hardware and installation costs, and an Indigenous engagement plan. So the Liberals, obviously, they saw what we all saw, that straight arm salute that certainly resembled a Nazi salute that Elon made a couple days ago, and didn't miss a chance to put Elon Musk and Doug Ford in the same sentence, and facing an election, link those two in people's minds.
And the Liberals are now running a petition on the issue. What can you tell us? What's the latest?
Yeah, so they're calling for the cancellation of the deal. They're obviously criticizing Elon Musk as a destructive man-child who they say proudly styles his leadership after a dictator, and that he's a champion of Donald Trump's proposed tariffs on Canada. So they're calling on Doug Ford to rip up the quote-unquote sweetheart deal with Elon Musk and stand up to the tariffs, which certainly the Premier has been doing, the latter part of that. But obviously with any petition, especially political petitions, it's going to get you a lot of email addresses and postal code data right before an election, which is always valuable.
No question. Okay, finally, it's been one of the worst kept secrets for several days, but Premier Ford has confirmed he will be calling an election this coming Wednesday with Ontarians headed to the polls on February the 27th. What's the latest?
Yeah, so several outlets were able to confirm it last night with an anonymous source, and then this morning at a press conference, the Premier confirmed it himself in public. He's going to go to the Lieutenant Governor on Tuesday and call the election on Wednesday. That'll be January 29th. And then, as you said, the election day will be February 27th, almost a month later.
All right, so in terms of coverage, Jack, maybe fill us in on what the team at the Trillium will be up to over the next several weeks as the campaigns kick into full gear.
Yeah, the election time, always an exciting time. We're going to be on the road. Trillium reporters will be heading out across the province. We'll be covering all three major campaigns, and local village outlets will also be covering their local races. So keep it locked to Village Media, and we'll have the most fulsome coverage.
All right, looking forward to it. Jack Howen, reporter at the Trillium. For the most comprehensive coverage of Ontario politics anywhere, become a Trillium Insider today at thetrillium.ca. Thanks as always for this, Jack. Have a great week.
Thanks for having me. You too.